There's a man standing on the raised arm of the Statue of Liberty, almost 100 meters above the Bay of New York. He's not a tourist. He can't be, because for more than 100 years it's been forbidden to go up there. He's a maintenance worker, and he's climbed up a narrow, dark ladder hidden inside the copper arm to reach the torch. The wind blows hard up there, and he notices something that turns his stomach. The statue moves. It sways very slowly beneath his feet. That colossus that from below looks like the most solid and firm thing in the world, up here rocks with the wind as if it were alive. And that's what almost nobody knows about the Statue of Liberty. Everyone knows it from the outside. The crown, the torch, the green color, the photos from the ferry. It's one of the most recognizable images on the planet, a symbol of the firm, the eternal, of what doesn't break. But on the inside, it's exactly the opposite of what it appears to be. It's hollow, it's paper thin, and it's designed to move. Today, we're going to open it up and walk through it from the inside, from the feet to the torch, and you're going to discover that the world's greatest symbol of solidity is in reality a shell of metal thinner than 2 coins that sways with the wind. Come with me. If you like the places that hide more than they show, this is your channel. Subscribe and come up with me. But before we go in, we have to understand where this giant came from. And its origin is, in itself, a kind of madness. The Statue of Liberty wasn't built by the United States. It was a gift, a colossal gift from the people of France to the American people, to celebrate the friendship between the two countries and the ideals of freedom. Its real name isn't even the Statue of Liberty. It's officially called Liberty Enlightening the World. And behind it was an obsessed French sculptor, Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, who dedicated years of his life to raising the largest statue the world had ever seen. But Bartholdi faced an almost impossible engineering problem. How do you build a human figure more than 40 meters tall, made of metal, that stays standing for centuries, withstanding hurricanes and salt storms, without collapsing under its own weight? A stone statue that size would have sunk under itself. He needed something revolutionary, and to solve it, he turned to another Frenchman, an engineer who was about to become the most famous in the world. A certain Gustave Eiffel. Yes, the same man who a few years later would raise in Paris the tower that bears his name. Before his tower, Eiffel solved the riddle of the Statue of Liberty. And the solution he devised is the great secret hidden beneath the copper skin. Because the statue was built entirely in Paris, in pieces, over almost 10 years, and when it was finally finished, they did something astonishing. They took it completely apart. They broke it into more than 300 pieces, packed them into crates, and loaded them onto a ship to cross the Atlantic Ocean. The Statue of Liberty traveled to America in pieces, like a giant piece of furniture to assemble. When it arrived in New York, an army of workers took 4 months to put it back together, piece by piece, on top of its pedestal. And here, a detail that says a lot about that gift. France paid for the statue, but the pedestal, the enormous base it rests on, had to be paid for by the United States. And it was so hard to raise the money that construction of the base stopped several times for lack of funds. They nearly couldn't put up the most famous woman in the world because they couldn't make ends meet. Now let's go in. And let's start with the skin, because the skin of the Statue of Liberty hides 2 mind-blowing secrets. The first is its color. Today we know it as green. That green is its signature. But when it was inaugurated, the statue wasn't green. It was a bright copper color, the color of a new coin, because it's made entirely of copper. Gleaming, golden, coppery. What happened is that the copper, over the years, in contact with the air, the rain and the sea salt, slowly oxidized. And that oxidation created a thin green layer over the surface. It took about 20 years to change from bright copper to the green that today seems eternal to us. Nobody decided to paint it green, time painted it. And the second secret of the skin is even more incredible. How thick do you think that copper skin is? Like the armor of a tank? Like a wall? Well, no. The copper of the Statue of Liberty is barely a couple of millimeters thick, less than 2 coins stacked together. Think about it. That colossus of more than 40 meters, that giant woman who has spent more than a century withstanding hurricanes in the middle of the bay, is on the outside a paper-thin shell of copper. So thin you could almost bend it with your hands. If you struck it hard, it would sound hollow, because it is. The Statue of Liberty is, in essence, a skin of metal empty on the inside. And here arises the question that changes everything. If the skin is so thin and so flimsy, what on earth holds it up? And here is where Eiffel's secret comes in. The answer is on the inside, in something no tourist sees from outside. Because inside that hollow shell, Eiffel built a skeleton of iron. In the very center of the statue, he raised a tower, a pillar of iron that works like a spine, rising from the feet to the head. And from that central column come dozens of ribs and metal bars that reach outward until they touch the copper skin from the inside, holding it, giving it shape. It's exactly the same principle Eiffel would use in his tower in Paris, a light, resistant iron structure hidden beneath a form. The statue isn't held up by its skin, it's held up by its hidden skeleton, just as you aren't held up by your skin, but by your bones. And here, before we keep going up, stop for a second. If you're as blown away as I am by what hides beneath the statue's skin, give me a like. It's free, it helps the channel a lot, and it tells me you want me to keep digging up stories like this. But Eiffel did something even more ingenious, and it's the key to why the statue is still standing. He didn't join the copper skin to the skeleton rigidly, nailing it down. Because if he had, the statue would have been destroyed. Why? Because of the wind and the temperature. Metal expands with heat and shrinks with cold. And a structure that large, exposed to the scorching summer sun and the winter ice, suffers enormous stresses. If the skin were rigidly nailed to the bone, it would have cracked and broken more than a century ago. So Eiffel designed a flexible system. The iron ribs hold the copper skin, but let it move a little, slide, breathe. Thanks to that, the entire statue is flexible. It can sway with the wind without breaking. On a day of strong wind, the tip of the torch, up there, can move up to about 12 centimeters from side to side. The statue rocks. And that swaying, which seems like a flaw, is exactly what has kept it alive. What seems rigid and eternal, in reality survives because it knows how to bend. It doesn't break because it gives way. Let's keep going up toward the torch, because up there is hidden one of the greatest failures in the history of the statue, a story almost nobody knows. When they built the Statue of Liberty, they didn't just want a symbol, they wanted it to be useful. And they decided that the torch the woman raises toward the sky wouldn't be just decorative. It would be a real light, a lighthouse. The idea was beautiful. The statue would guide, with its flame, the ships entering the port of New York, lighting the way for the millions of immigrants arriving in search of a new life. Liberty, literally, lighting the way. So they installed electric lights in the torch and switched them on. And it was a disaster, an absolute failure, because the light of the torch was so weak, so faint, that it could barely be seen. It was supposed to reach miles out to sea, but in practice, it could hardly be made out even from the city itself. A newspaper of the time mocked it, saying that light looked more like a glowworm than a beacon. The Statue of Liberty, the most famous lighthouse ever imagined, couldn't guide a single ship. Even so stubbornly, it kept operating officially as a lighthouse for 16 years, being a lighthouse that gave no light. Until finally, at the beginning of the 20th century, the government gave up, admitted it was completely useless as a lighthouse, and turned off the light forever. The world's greatest symbol of illumination failed at the one practical thing it was asked to do. It was born to be a light, and it turned out to be only a symbol. Although, all things considered, as a symbol it hasn't done badly at all. And before going up to the very top, there's a detail hidden at the feet of the statue that almost nobody has seen, because from the ground it's invisible. If you could get close to the base of the figure, you'd see that the woman is stepping on something. Broken chains and a shattered shackle, crushed beneath her foot, half hidden among the folds of the robe. They're not there by chance. They represent the end of slavery and oppression. Liberty advances, literally, trampling the broken chains of tyranny. It's one of the most powerful messages in the entire statue, and it's placed right where almost nobody can see it. And now we reach the highest part you can visit, the crown. To get there, you have to climb a narrow double spiral staircase, one helix to go up and another to come down, intertwined, tucked right into the hollow of Eiffel's skeleton. And I want you to get in there with me for a moment. Imagine you're climbing. The space is so narrow you barely fit. It's hot, a suffocating heat, because the sun beats down on the copper and the whole statue heats up inside like an oven. The steps are steep, the climb never ends, and a few centimeters from your face, you have the copper skin from the inside, with the ripples of the dress and the locks of hair seen in reverse. You see the rivets, the iron ribs, the whole skeleton of Eiffel bare around you, and you notice that the structure very slightly vibrates. You're climbing inside a hollow body of metal, and at the very top in the crown, there are 25 windows through which the light finally enters, and you can see the bay. A curious fact, the 7 spikes that come out of the crown aren't just any decoration. They represent the 7 seas and the 7 continents, the idea that liberty radiates to the entire world. But there's one place in the statue nobody can go up to anymore: the torch. And the reason it's closed is a dark and almost forgotten story. During the first 30 years, brave visitors could indeed climb up to the torch by that little ladder hidden in the arm. Until one night in July of 1916, it was the First World War. The United States hadn't yet entered the war, but it was selling weapons and munitions to the enemies of Germany. And right next to the statue, on a little island in the harbor, there was an enormous depot full of explosives waiting to be shipped. That early morning, secret German agents, saboteurs, slipped into the depot and set it on fire. What followed was one of the largest explosions in the history of the United States. A detonation so brutal that it was felt like an earthquake kilometers away that blew out thousands of windows all over New York, and that was heard more than 100 kilometers away. It was one of the biggest attacks on American soil up to that moment. And the Statue of Liberty, which was right beside it, took the shockwave and a rain of shrapnel. The fragments struck its robe and, above all, its arm and its torch, damaging the internal structure. From that night on, for safety, the torch was closed to the public forever. Nobody has gone up again, except the occasional maintenance worker, like the one at the beginning of this story. That raised arm you see in all the photos has been forbidden for more than a century. Sealed, secretly wounded by an explosion almost nobody remembers. The Statue of Liberty keeps, in its arm, the scar of a wartime act of sabotage. So let's recap what we've discovered together. A colossal gift from France, assembled and disassembled and shipped in 300 pieces. With a paper-thin copper skin, thinner than 2 coins, that time painted green. Held up not by that skin, but by a hidden iron skeleton designed by the same man who raised the Eiffel Tower. A flexible skeleton that lets it sway with the wind instead of breaking. A lighthouse that failed because its light gave no light. And a torch wounded and sealed forever by the sabotage of a war. And here's the idea I want you to keep. The Statue of Liberty is the greatest lesson disguised as a monument that exists, because everyone looks at it and sees solidity, firmness, permanence, something unbreakable. And it's exactly the opposite. It's hollow, it's thin, it's fragile, it sways with the wind, and yet it's been there for more than a century, intact, precisely because of that. Because it isn't rigid, because it knows how to give way without breaking, to bend without snapping, to move without falling. The next time you see its image, that green figure cut out against the New York sky, you're no longer going to see just a symbol. You're going to see a paper-thin shell of copper, hollow on the inside, rocking slowly with the wind, held up by a secret skeleton, keeping in its arm the scar of an explosion. And you're going to understand that what has made it eternal isn't its hardness, it's its ability to bend. Because the Statue of Liberty isn't the only monument in the world that hides, beneath its skin, a completely different story from the one everyone thinks they know. There are towers, bridges, and giant statues that keep engineering secrets nobody imagines. Tell me in the comments which one you want us to open up next. The Christ the Redeemer of Rio de Janeiro and what it withstands up there? The Eiffel Tower, the masterpiece of Gustave Eiffel himself? Or the tallest statue in the world in India that makes liberty look small? Leave it down there, because I read them all. Subscribe, hit like, and comment. This is Inside. See you on the next journey.